Good afternoon. Welcome to Profit Lifter Live. Today we are going to be discussing the strategies of hiring versus outsourcing. I love this topic because it's an important part of growth is figuring out how you're going to basically how you're going to build your team, what you want to do to grow, what it looks like. And then a lot of times I think that we get stuck as entrepreneurs trying to figure out like what's our options, like how do we do this. And a lot of times, like, I know I've been guilty of this. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've been guilty of sometimes being a little more optimistic on my hiring than I should. And so today what we're going to be talking about is the difference of hiring versus outsourcing, and what we're going to be working on, or what we're going to be looking at. One second here, I'm finishing up my little chart here. Is we are going to be mind mapping the two options. So let me share my screen. We'll get started here and get rocking and rolling. All right, here we go. And if you're hanging out with me, give me a hi in the chat. Let me know that you're here. Let me know who's hanging out with me today. I love to see you guys. Love to see when people are hopping on. Yeah, let me know where you're at. And I'm stuck at home in another snow day in Kansas City, because apparently that's all it does out here is snow, but that's all right. I'm a little frustrated with the weather, if you can't tell. All right, so today we are going to be talking about the difference between hiring and outsourcing. I think this is important for business growth for a couple of reasons. One, it's really important to have a strategy for growing your team, because you can't do everything by yourself. It's just not possible. It's not something that it's not something that's even feasible for a small business owner. So having a strategy, or having a way to be able to know that you're going to have predictable growth, is a very important thing. Now, before we jump into this, let's talk about what is the difference between hiring and outsourcing. So when I think of hiring, I'm talking about like actually bringing somebody on for your team. Now, when you start bringing people on, there's two different routes that you can go. You can go the contractor route of getting VAs, working with Upwork, finding people that can come in remotely, work with your team. Or you could go the W-2 route of hiring people in the U.S. and having to have making it so that you have to have your payroll taxes. You got to have an HR department. Like, it gets really complex when you start hiring. But these are really the two options that those are your two options with hiring. Outsourcing actually has a lot of different options with it. So let's share our screen and let's be talking about some pros and cons, and be thinking through like the stuff that you need that you really want to think about hiring versus outsourcing for. So some of the ways that you can look at into outsourcing. With outsourcing, obviously you have your virtual assistants, or VAs for short. Now, with VAs, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this. You can go like Upwork, basically any website that you're able to, you can hire VAs on, is going to be a legitimate option to be able to pull from. So that's one of your options with outsourcing. The other route that you can go is you can look at just hiring an entire agency to come in and do some of the work for you. This would be like if you reach out and said, "Hey, Profit Lifter, I need a funnel built." That is outsourcing to an agency. So that is completely an option, and is a very legitimate option. Some of the other things that you can be looking at. This could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a virtual assistant from out of state. It could be like an in-state. Let's just call it in-state. I don't know what else to call it. Assistant that you hire. It doesn't necessarily lean towards any specific demographic. It could be anywhere. But the things that you want to look at, the things that you want to consider when you're looking at outsourcing versus hiring. This could include. Let's put this down here. Create a whole line here. So here's what I think about outsourcing. I love outsourcing. Obviously, I'm an agency. Like we do outsource work for clients. We build stuff for our people. Is what it is. But the thing that is important about outsourcing is this should be very specific, very task specific. When you're looking, if you need, opposed to, sorry, my words are all over the place today. I did not sleep well last night. I apologize. What this means to me is that, like, when you're looking at hiring means that you can hire for general labor, basically, meaning that you can bring in anybody from people who have the skills that you're looking for that can handle multiple tasks inside of your business. And this doesn't need to be specific to one thing. You may have them running social media posts and then talking to clients and then keeping your emails organized. Like you can basically just hand off whatever you need to that specific person when you're hiring. When you start outsourcing, though, the outsourcing versus hiring doesn't necessarily mean that you're looking at a virtual assistant. Now that I put this in here and I'm looking at it, this actually should go over here. This is where you can. This is where you can hire a VA. You can hire in states. You can do any of this. But outsourcing is, again, this is where it's going to be much more specific. And this could be where you come in and you're like, hey, I need a website built. I'm going to hire somebody and I'm going to outsource that work to build that website, or I need a funnel, or I need the software developed. And instead, the difference between outsourcing and hiring, though, is once the job is over, they're done. Like, you may come back and rehire them. You may bring them on for other things. But basically, once the job is over, it's over. There's no long-term commitment. It's really just a task. Like, you come in, you do the task, you're done. It's really that simple. Opposed to hiring, this is going to be a long-term. This is going to be more of a long-term commitment. This is something where you're paying them monthly you're paying them, or however often you're paying them, to come in and do and to be a part of your team and to be there consistently. So now that we've kind of covered the difference between outsourcing and hiring, when is it smart to outsource versus hire? I will tell you this. For me, some of the things that I look at hiring wise is I look at SOPs. Do I have work that is mapped out, that I've got our systems, operations, procedures? Do I have my SOPs in place that I can bring in a team member and give them work to do that's going to keep them busy for the full amount of time that I'm paying them? Is there enough work to be able to justify the expense? Now, when you're hiring, whether a VA, whether in-state, wherever, you're going to have, excuse me, it doesn't have to be a full-time employee. It doesn't have to be 40 hours a week. You may negotiate and go, hey, I only want a VA. I only need a VA for 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours, whatever. So it doesn't have to be a full-time position. But what you need to understand before you jump into this long-term commitment, or make sure that you have in place, do you have the work that needs to be done mapped out and spelled out so that you can set it up the way that you want it done consistently? And this SOP is a big thing, because I see a lot of business owners that will jump in and be like, oh, I'm going to hire a VA, but they don't know what the VA should be doing. Now, when it comes to your SOPs and having your systems in order, you want to make sure that you understand what is being done. And this is crucial as a small business. Now, as you grow, as you get to a point where you start bringing in people who specialize in different tasks inside of your business, this is going to change exponentially, meaning that like I could hire a developer who's going to come in like, oh, we're going to build all blah, 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 and it's going to go way just right over my head. But in the meantime, as a smaller business, I can look at this and go, hey, I need you to do A, B, C, and D. And I'm going to tell them exactly what A, B, C, and D needs to look like. And I'm also going to tell them exactly how it should be done. Where I see a lot of people fail in this is that they bring people in expecting them to build a system for them. Now, this gets a little bit tricky, but if you're not good at writing SOPs, get into Chat GPT. Like there's so much you can do with writing SOPs with Chat GPT. It's ridiculous. Like I've got just pages of SOPs mapped out inside of our ClickUp account, so that when my team comes in, I don't have to retrain them every single time. Every time I'm onboarding somebody, I don't have to sit down and go, oh, what are we doing? How's it going to work? Like it's already there. It's already mapped out. And having it in writing like that makes it so that the entire team is able to utilize what we're doing and just kind of come in and get and get locked into step what's there. Outsourcing, again, is going to be more of a task specific until the job's over. And again, this is where you're going to be looking at agencies or other businesses that will be stepping in and helping out with some of this stuff. Now, how do we get here though? Like what does our strategy look like? Because like I know this may not have answered a lot of questions yet, but here's what I want you to be thinking about. If you were to go in right now and you're like, oh, look, Keith, I got too much work. I need to hand some of this off. What I want you to be thinking about is this work that is going to be consistent, or is this a project that needs to be done? Again, outsourcing, task specific or projects. So having that there. But here's kind of what I see with businesses as they get into this cycle of growth, is that when you're looking at hiring, that's kind of the easy part, or that's not really the easy part. But let's create a new. We're going to come over here. So while you launch your business, launching your business really is going to fall under a lot of the outsourcing side, meaning that these are going to be people that are going to be these are going to be things that you're going to want to hire people to come in and do. What I mean by that is very simple. Like if you want a website, you shouldn't hire an entire one person for the longevity of your business to run your website right out of the gate. But outsourcing that work to a third-party company or an agency is going to make a lot more sense for you, because this is a one-time project, something that you need in. Once it's done, the job's over. Now, there may be upgrades, there may be things that you want for that. But that's where you can go back to the agency, rehire them, or like once it's built, you can hire somebody later on that will come in and actually manage it. So I find a lot of the things that need to be done to launch a business is going to be more of an outsourcing task than it is a hiring task. Now, the flip side is that if I'm looking at hiring, this is going to be our processes. These are going to be things that are daily work that needs to be done, maybe weekly, just tasks that are going to be ongoing that you're going to want to be handling. But what I find for growth measures is that companies that are strategic about it they'll start outsourcing under their launch, meaning that they'll come in, they'll start getting the stuff that they need to get there. They'll get to a point that they're generating revenue. And then from here, they start developing. Oh, what is that? Sorry, my internet's being really buggy. We got hit with a snowstorm last night, and now my internet is just bugging out because I got kids all on my internet. That's okay though. But Let me. There we go. So what I find though is that a lot of the times while you start generating revenue, this is where you want to be mapping out your SOPs. Where as you start working the process, this is where you start writing out your SOPs. This is where you start building the foundation for your company. Because look, just because you have a website, just because you have some automations, you got things there, doesn't mean that you're actually running a business. The best things that I ever had a mentor tell me is until you have SOPs, you just own a side hustle. Once you have SOPs and you can start developing a team that can see your vision and jump out there and really run with it, that's when you start building a business. So what I've seen a lot of the most successful startups do is they'll outsource the content that they need for the launch. They'll start working the process. And this may just be the owner themselves getting in there and working it. They'll get to understand the software. They'll understand the system. They'll understand all the stuff that they're building with this. And then from there, that's when they start mapping out their SOPs. And then based on their revenue, now they can move from outsourcing to hiring based off of that. So which one's better for you? Here's some of the pros and cons. Let's hop into the pros and cons here. The pros of hiring is one, you are going to have a full-time team member, meaning that you now have more flexibility to hand stuff off, to train your team. It could be like in the startup phase or the Wild West of startup. This is going to be like having people that are essentially coming in and just you're teaching them how to do all the different things. And then you'll start to find from there, they'll start to gravitate towards things that they love. But you have a full team member when you hire, meaning that you can basically hand off anything to them. The downside of this, I feel like I need a pro-con board inside of here. But the downside of this is that you do have that long-term commitment. They're basically going to have to be there. You're basically going to have to pay them regardless of if you have the work or not. You're going to have to pay them regardless of whether you have the money or not sometimes as well. But it still has a lot of value. Now, the other side, when you're getting into outsourcing, this is going to be this is where you can start to niche down your expertise. Like, do they know? Like, you can hire the best, but let's talk about cost. Cost for outsourcing is going to be more expensive in exchange for less time. What I mean by this is that it's going to be more expensive up front to purchase the project that you need, but it's going to take them less time because of their expertise. Meaning that, like, let's say you come to me and you're like, hey, I want to run ads. I want to run a sales funnel. Cool. We'll build you a sales funnel. We can do that. You just outsource the work to us. We'll get it in. We'll get in there, get it all set up, get it going. It's going to cost you more than if you go in there and do it yourself, obviously. But the difference is what's going to take us 2 or 3 hours, it may take you 2 or 3 days. What may take us a week to get done could take you a month to get done. So when you're comparing outsourcing versus hiring, you also want to be thinking about, is this something that needs this exact expertise? And can I get it done much faster having a team that I'm outsourcing to, opposed to having an individual who is doing all of this work, especially as a small business, because you're overwhelmed with tasks and things that you want to do. So this is going to be a big one where you may have this more as a general labor. You may have this more as the general labor. You need an extra set of hands to manage conversations, to do all this. Where outsourcing, you're going to be looking at, is this something specific that I want done? Now, if you ask me what do I think? Should you hire or should you outsource? These are going to be the questions that I'm going to ask you. Is this something that needs a specific expertise, or do you just need somebody to lighten your workload? Do you have your SOPs mapped out? This is another thing. The other side of this is the revenue. Do you have enough money to make a long-term commitment for a team member opposed to outsourcing? If you have the money for outsourcing, but you're not sure if you're going to have the money for a team member, outsource it. Because here's the thing. If you start hiring people without having the revenue there to sustain them, you are going to put yourself in a constant training situation, meaning that every time you turn around, you're going to be training them on here's our SOPs, here's the process, here's the software, here's how you use the software, blah, blah, blah. Like you've got all these different, you're going to have to go through and do this constantly as you're hiring. Opposed to outsourcing, you're sitting down for project onboarding, you're getting to know them, and then you're explaining it, and then you're done, and you don't have to worry about it again. So this is the reason I want to take you through this is we're actually going through a lot of hiring and outsourcing right now ourselves, and these are some of the things that we're looking at going through this. So I wanted to bring this up to you guys, just give you a little bit of insight, let you know, look, if you're too busy, if you're overwhelmed, if you're at that point that you've got so much going on that you're not sure how you want to go about it, you have options. Yeah, you can outsource. This is going to be a matter of outsourcing. It may be a matter of hiring. It really comes down to what it is that you feel like that you're prepared for. Because again, if you can get to the point where you've got the revenue, you just need an extra set of hands, hiring may be a great option for you. If you're looking for outsourcing, or you've just got some projects that you need to get done, some things that you need to get handled, outsourcing is almost always going to be better. And this doesn't stop just because you get out of startup mode. Like I know major corporations like Disney will outsource work all the time. There's no corporation out there that's not outsourcing massive projects and massive workloads. Because again, when you get into specific work that needs to be done, and you get to a point where you need that expertise, it's a lot of times it's much cheaper to outsource that for that expertise and for the specific project rather than hiring for it. Because sometimes when you get into hiring for expertise, you may not need the expertise for forever. If it's a one-time build, if it's something that you're just coming in and getting things set up and you just need it there, and then once it's done, that's something that you want to outsource. It's not a long-term commitment. So I hope this helps. Like I said, these are just some ideas, some different ways to look at how you can eliminate, how you can bring in people to help you out. Different strategies and ideas for outsourcing versus hiring. Make sure you're the most productive that you can be. And that's all we got for you today. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Moving forward, we are actually not going to be doing a live stream this coming Friday. Next week, we are going to start doing client trainings for those of you guys who are currently clients. We're going to have specific trainings that's just going to be for clients. It's going to be available inside your Profit Lifter account. But until then, you're always welcome to check us out on YouTube or reach out to us if you have any questions. Outside of that, I hope you guys have an amazing week. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us at profitlifter.com. We're always happy to help and help you grow your business. All right. Have a great week.